Frazier would be but a speck of dust in the world if he would be a retired Olympic weightlifter if it weren't for CrossFit.
A mechanical engineer.
I guess that's really a speck of dust. That's something rather significant. A mechanical engineer, and he's smart. And
he wouldn't have the influence.
He'd be doing something. He wouldn't have the influence.
And he wouldn't have the money. He worked as hard as he did to get himself into that match.
His hard work paid off.
But bam, we're live.
Yo. All right. Andrew Hiller, Matt Souza, sitting out in Newport Beach. What are we doing here, dude? What are we doing?
We're hanging out at the beach with this beautiful sunset behind us. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, we're trying to be super gimmicky and unique, and I think it's going to work.
Living the good life. It's kind of like a live episode because there's people weirdly looking at us, but none of them know who we are.
I'd say we're each significantly out of our comfort zone, just sitting out in public talking to one another.
I have the same exact shorts as that guy on right now.
All right, so we're out in Newport Beach. We're doing a whole bunch of stuff with California Hormones. We worked out at Caoch Fitness this morning. Did we do anything else?
What is your take? Are you going to go into the Caoch Fitness experience at all, or are we not doing that here?
We did a 40-minute workout this morning. I've been informed that the 40-minute workouts on Saturdays are not typical of what they do throughout the week. I wasn't a big fan of the workout today. I'll say that. We ended up changing it up a little bit on the back end.
We changed it.
I got a handful of stuff of Souza working out, so I'll plug in the videos of Souza working out. You were a little worried about working out, weren't you?
Well, yeah, I just got back from Europe like a week ago.
What were you doing there?
It was my honeymoon. We went to Barcelona. I went to Rome with Grace. And we still worked out there, but not as much as I normally work out. So just kind of getting back.
Well, yeah, you said you dropped in a handful of affiliates. How was that?
Yeah, it was great. There was 2 affiliates in Barcelona that we dropped in on. And it's funny because there's a thread that links all of them together where everything's like similar and very familiar, but they're each unique in their own way. And so it was pretty cool. That was the first time I've ever gone to affiliate in a different country.
Was there a language barrier?
No, because all the words of CrossFit are the same words in English. No, so they would like
thruster, is
wall ball, is burpee, is dumbbell. It's all the same. Yeah.
How much does it drop in over there?
The same. It was
you like get a t-shirt and all that.
27 euros. Well, so what we did is we actually brought some shirts from CFL. This was actually Grace's idea. She usually comes with the better ideas. But we brought t-shirts from CFL to the gym. And so after we finished up the class, we would like give a t-shirt to the coach that coached the class.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
They were like super pumped about it. And so we ended up getting a free t-shirt, and I get a lot of t-shirts and stuff like sent to me because of the podcast and what have you. So Grace actually got the free t-shirt everywhere we went.
Speaking of t-shirts, I got a Caoch Fitness t-shirt that I got to figure out what I want to do with it. Souza picked me up a Caoch Fitness t-shirt, and he forgot I got a little bit of I just won't be wearing that on camera anytime soon. Let's just say that much. But no, that's cool that you were out of the country and dropping at affiliates, and 3 of them you said?
Yeah, I went to 3 total, 2 in Barcelona, 1 in Rome. They were all unique. I can tell you this though. And speaking in terms of spaces, it was definitely unique to each one because both of them were in like big cities.
You want to name drop them?
Do
you remember?
Yes. The first one we went to is La Jolla CrossFit, spelled LAHUELLA. That one was fantastic. I mean, everywhere we went, people were super welcoming and everything else. But that one felt the most like familiar, and I instantly felt like I connected with the coach and the people in that one the quickest. The other was Max Grit CrossFit, I think it was called. That one was also in Barcelona. That was a partner workout, so that was pretty cool because it was a 3-person one. So Grace and I paired up with like one of the locals there, and the coach there was great dude. And then went to one in Rome. That was our first female coach out of the 3 that we went to. And that one was a little bit tougher, only for me because you had to go underground. So you went down like what felt like 2 stories, but it's probably just 1 story underground. Cool. And they did a great job with the space because they painted the walls white and had it really bright in there. But it got hot and like humid in there quick, and so
no windows and
no windows.
2-stair down basement.
Yep, exactly. So that was it felt a little like they did a great job with the space, but it definitely felt a little like suffocating trying to do my wall.
Is it similar to the States where you usually find the affiliates in an industrial park, so they had their affiliate in the double basement because it was maybe cheaper, or was it maybe a sound issue? Do you know what they were doing down there?
I'm not sure. The one that we actually went to in Rome, which was like right in the heart of Rome, right next to like the Trevi River. I'm gonna get hammered in the comments for saying that wrong.
The Nile.
But
the Nile.
Yeah, the Nile River. But that one actually had only been open for like 2 or 3 months.
Oh.
Yeah, which was really
so everything was brand new?
Everything was brand
That's
new.
cool. That's always
Yeah,
fun.
everything was brand new. But no, both the ones that we went to, because we were in major cities, so we didn't really go. They didn't really have like light industrial like we do in the States here. At least not like focused in the city. Like it was very much like a city feel where it was.
Did they know who you were?
Else. No, nobody did.
Shit.
Nobody did. But on one of them, they have everybody who drops in like sign their wall. So I signed it. Bam, we're live, and put
That's
just my
cool.
last name as Souza.
Like the
Yeah.
shirt, the Bam We're Live shirt.
Yeah, we had I had quite a few people, and thank you to you guys if anybody's watching this, like reach out in the DM and be like, hey, if you're in this city, like come, we'll show you around, or like come train at my box and stuff like that. But no, nobody recognized me like when we're.
I always wonder if at some point, like, the Sevan podcast is going to be worldwide and everyone's going to know about it. And then they'll go, this fucking guy was here and we didn't even know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
And I know how you are. You also aren't big on the attention.
I mean, I hope so, and it's gonna suck more for Sevan than it will for me. That's for sure.
Why?
Like, because he'll start going to places, and people are gonna for sure recognize him. Like, of course, I have my supporting actor role, like in the show and what have you. But for the most part, I like to stay like behind the scenes and stuff like that. So I think he'll get way more of the attention than I will.
That's why he didn't want to go to any of the affiliates we went to last time we were here. I asked him 3 times, and he goes, no, I'm okay. I'm on vacation. I'm like, oh, that's the reason, eh?
You know, there's a funny story. We actually went to Grace and I went to CrossFit Walnut Creek back in like 2014.
Where's that?
It's like just north a little bit from where I live, about 30 minutes north. It's close to Diablo CrossFit, if you guys are familiar with that. Greg Howard. And we went there, and Greg was giving his Crush Big Soda speech at the time. Do you remember any of that?
I remember it happening.
Stuff?
I didn't hear any of it.
Well, the speed, the talk and everything was great. There's still a bunch of it online, so if any of you guys want to check that out, you could see it. But it was funny because I remember walking in, and the one person that I saw that like I didn't get a photo with was Sevan, and Grace, and Grace was like, "Go get a photo with him," and I was like, "No, I don't want to bother him. Like he's over there doing his thing." And like I was really big into like not really big, but I was starting to get more into like business and understanding like building up brands and the forward-facing stuff. And I knew that he was responsible for all the awesome stuff that we watched and building up a lot of the athletes that like we love still to this day from back then. And so
when? What year?
2014.
Okay.
Yeah. So what, 8 years ago now?
Yeah. And you were a fan of his this is even like before he was doing the podcast. This is just from when he was doing media.
Right.
We were talking earlier about how he did the day in the life of Froning video and how we probably watched it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
He was the guy who not only recorded it, but also edited it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. So you saw him there and you're like, I don't want to get a photo.
Yeah.
And now,
I just hate, like we were talking about it earlier, but I hate going up and like being that person that like, you know, somebody's there and you come up and you're like, oh my gosh, can you do this for me? Or can you do that for me? And it's kind of like, you know, I just hate taking time out of it if I can't add some sort of value to him. And who knows, maybe just the fact of that, like me coming up and recognizing a work was added value at the time. But yeah,
do people know how you guys met? Have you ever talked about that?
I don't know. He's talked about it a little bit.
Because something people don't know about you, and I think you actually told me about, is that you kind of did what I did before I did it, right?
It was about counting your reps, or maybe lack thereof. Maybe you don't count your reps. Maybe you just move on when you feel like it. I don't know. I think I'm done with the wall balls. They're done with the wall balls. I don't want to be the only one in the room. So what do? Obviously, just stop doing the reps and run out the door with everybody else.
Where you would just like make videos on the internet and you were super passionate and where...
Well, while we were all distracted by the juiciness of the Rich Froning and Matt Frazier drama, something very important slid right past all of...
I'm kind of stern on the standards and all that. Yours was more affiliate based.
Yeah, mine was more business
and I'm a little bit... I'd say I'm probably 30% affiliate and like the healthiness of a gym and 70-80% games, movement standards and all that, but you're the other way around.
There's
you're
a lot of meat on the bone,
affiliate.
Yeah, so I guess the story basically is like I started a podcast like specifically for the gym, and then started to kind of grow out of that space and like wanted to kind of like give my opinions on affiliate ownership.
You said you do one a week, right?
I did one a week from 2017 into 2020. Yeah.
And Sevan was on that podcast.
He was. That was.
Where
actually,
can we find that? Can we find it?
Can you find it? I don't know if it's still on my YouTube channel. But I used to actually call it CrossFit Journal Audio.
Okay.
Or like the...
Oh, I did hear about this. You would just read the journals?
Yes.
Like, this is Matt Souza talking about article day. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I did like 4 or 5... I did like 4 or 5 articles. Yeah, that sucked because that was just like reading out loud to the max, and I was never very good at it. So it took a long time to kind of like edit it and get it in. Basically, I started that podcast and I was just talking about the CrossFit methodology. Like I was really big on the methodology piece as like it started to move more towards sport, which is awesome. But I didn't want the methodology piece to be lost. And so the podcast was kind of focused around that. And I would take snippets of it, make micro content to post on like my stories or what have you. And I would just tag Sevan all the time in it. And one of the time he reposted my stories. Going back to the original question, should grandma learn to deadlift? Yes, she should. Should we be loading it up with a bunch of weight on there? No, definitely not. We're just showing her how to correctly do the thing she's going to do anyway so she could stay.
Oh,
and I was like, oh yeah, like I was like super pumped and was like ran over and like told Grace, like showed my mom.
Hell yeah. Mom, look!
Hey, Ma! Can we get some meatloaf? You know what? I will have some meatloaf. Let's have some meatloaf. You want some? Hey, Mom! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
Yeah. She actually, when he came down to the event before my wedding, my mom actually told him that story, which was kind of funny. Maybe this will be a strategy for somebody else. Knows if you tag a bunch of people like that and they ever repost it, it moves them from their request folder into their primary. So then anytime, if you tag them in it and they repost you, they have to repost you. And so once you move from the request bucket into their primary, anytime you DM them, it'll populate at the top of their inbox more than it would. Because you know how it is. I mean, you get messages probably all the time. And like at some point, it just becomes like so like overwhelming, that you're just like, I can't even like open the folder anymore. So anytime you can move from the request to the primary, you have a stronger point of being able to DM back and forth with them. Oddly enough, that happened with me with Frazier. I've never told this story.
Interesting.
So so when Sevan and I's relationship first started like going, I don't think at this point I was helping out with the podcast, or maybe I just started. Anyhow, I reposted this thing where it was the Matt, Josh, and Sevan podcast, right? And they had this like 4 quadrant thing on the YouTube station, but the fourth one was blank.
Josh, you're hilarious. Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. Matt, I'm happy to share my training and performance tips with you today. I'm really excited about this episode.
So I screenshotted it, right? And then I used it as a green screen, and I found some random headphones and I put them in. And I made myself in it. I think I was like, oh, of course, Matt, I'll share my training tips with you. And like just did something ridiculous, right? And then like posted up like some of the greatest interviews of Matt that I've seen. And then Sevan actually, well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, reached out to Matt. Anyways, Matt reposted my story. And
they have access to the DMs.
So I had access to the DMs, which I forgot about. So, and I made a video about Matt going on Rogan like 2 days after he went on Rogan. And I made a couple memes and stuff like that with it too. And so guess what happened? That populated in his primary box. And then he had some things to say about the videos that I made, which is kind of funny.
Do you remember what it was about?
Yeah, it was more so.
Let's hear it.
So basically Matt was just like, hey, like, I'm sorry you see it that way. Like, you know, that kind of thing. Like,
no. What is it that you made the reels on? It was probably about how he was talking about CrossFit methodology and
it wasn't even a reels. It was just two memes. So what I did is I found this girl that was like squeezing a sponge out, and there was this shed on fire behind her, and I put like the CrossFit community was the shed.
Matt Frazier's the guy squeezing the sponge,
and the sponge was coming out with a bunch of dollar signs,
right?
And like the shed that was on fire was like the CrossFit community and the affiliates, and then Frazier was the little girl squeezing out the money out of the sponge.
That way. You know, the other one, you said there's a couple, because that one's good. But and I agree, a lot of people felt that way when they watched it. I remember when I was still at the affiliate at that point in time, and a bunch of people came up to me and they're like, can you believe that he just didn't do anything to help CrossFit? And I go, I guess he can do whatever he wants. It doesn't matter! And I was just mostly interested in what he had to say about performance-enhancing drugs. But you're right. And like I said, that's my thing. And that was your thing. But
right. And so that's what I was focused on, because like if you do the math on it, right, and like at the time Joe Rogan got like 100 million downloads a month, probably even gets more now. But if you just did the quick math and you were like, hey, if out of 100 million people that listen to this, if even just 1,000 of them were potential affiliate owners, and then 100,000 of those 100 million were just potential new CrossFitters, like how much did they get turned off, and did the space get misrepresented by some of the comments that Matt had made? And at the time I actually put it on to Rosa, because I had assumed, I don't know this for a fact, but I assumed that Joe Rogan or Joe Rogan's people reached out to CrossFit HQ to get him in contact with Matt. Right? And I could be wrong on that. But let's assume that was the path that was taken to get Matt's contact information. It just would have been cool if CrossFit had just reached out to Matt and been like, hey, this is going to be the biggest platform that CrossFit will be on right now. It's in a really trying time because of the COVID that happened. It'd be really awesome if here's a couple like things for you just to consider in your talking points as far as it goes. So not like script him out or request that he says anything, but just basically like put that at the forefront of his mind. Right? Because let's face it, plant the seed. and just be like, it would be really cool to give back to the community that gave so much to you, because your whole entire career is built on CrossFit Games, which is also built off of the affiliates, right? There is no CrossFit game without the affiliates.
It's like the Finley Funston video I made. We talked about this earlier. Remember the reason I was so harsh about that? She was bashing fitness in 100 words, and then you see her affiliate. You see her gym, and it looks exactly like an affiliate. And then it just grinds the fuck out of your gears. You're like, do you not understand that everything that you do and whatever the fuck you want to say your fitness methodology is came only because CrossFit was there for it to like procreate it.
That's right.
And that's exactly kind of where Frazier came from. Frazier would be but a speck of dust in the world if he would be a retired Olympic weightlifter if it weren't for CrossFit.
A mechanical engineer.
I guess that's really a speck of dust. That's something rather significant. A mechanical engineer, and he's smart. And
he wouldn't have the influence.
He'd be doing something. He wouldn't have the influence.
And he wouldn't have the money.
And you really figure that he would have given some credit where credit was due, and possibly he didn't do that.
Yeah, and on top of that, again, it's not going back to like what Matt should or shouldn't say. It just would have been.
He can say whatever the fuck he wants.
He can say whatever he wants, and he deserves the right to, because he worked as hard as he did to get himself into that position. And this doesn't take away anything from Matt.
His hard work paid off,
but as some might say. But it just would have been cool if Rosa was like, "Hey, look, we're at this time." Like if I was the CEO,
did we not learn Rosa wasn't shit?
Rosa
wasn't going to do anything.
At the time, he was our savior. You remember when he came on and told us he was going to ride the ship?
It sounds like you haven't connected your present day thoughts with your past feelings.
I'm just telling the story.
I felt like Rosa should have helped, but wait a minute, he never was going to do anything.
Well, also too, think about it. How fucking stupid was the board at that time to not reach out to him and say, "Holy shit, this is going to be our largest platform in a time when the company's at its most rocky state. Hey, here's a couple things to consider that would really help out the CrossFit community. You're no obligation to us to talk about any of it, but we just want to put this on the forefront of his mind." And O'Keefe is fucking awesome with him, but let's be honest about it. O'Keefe is there as an assistant to Matt. He's not there to guide and direct him in terms of how he's going to talk. It's pretty evident.
Okay.
I mean, just in the way that the relationship seems to me as an outsider looking in. And that's not a dig on O'Keefe at all. That's his job. His job is to serve the people that he manages. So I don't want to take that as a dig on O'Keefe. It's
he's
not
a
dig on
manager anymore. He's the CEO of a company.
Yeah, but again, we're talking about back then. We're talking about
Okay. You had to remind me.
And so anyhow,
people had to be reminded.
Even if the powers to be at CrossFit had reached out to O'Keefe or reached out to Matt directly and just kind of gave those just a couple talking points for him to consider, at least they could have done the due diligence on that. Which I think
will give you $1 million to make us look good.
Fuck, I mean, I'm sure he would have taken it.
Maybe.
And it's not even to make it look good. Just talk about the methodology and talk about the affiliates in a light that presents them well, presents them good. Like not necessarily.
What is it called when you put someone in someone else's shoes? Is it empathy?
Yeah.
Have some empathy for maybe the affiliate owners and put yourself in the shoes of the clients. And I guess he wasn't there to do that. He was there to talk about his journey and what he experienced. And he did do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess it just didn't portray CrossFit the best way. And he doesn't owe CrossFit anything other than he owes it everything.
No. Yeah, good point. And this is why I will forever be a huge fan of Rich Froning, because he really found the balance using his performance as a vehicle to help promote others, especially the CrossFit community. And obviously he's very dedicated to his faith. So that's a big promotion that he puts at the forefront of that as well too, which is great because that's his prerogative. But that's why he did so well, because Rich was able to find that balance and really supporting the CrossFit community in the affiliates while at the same time, talking about his journey.
He was on the seminar staff, wasn't he?
He was. Well, that used to be the thing. Back in the day, everybody who competed at the CrossFit Games, and this is for a lot of people that may not know this.
The 2022 CrossFitters?
Yeah, that's for
sure.
The
2010 to 2012 CrossFitters?
Yes, and all those CrossFitters were all affiliate owners or coaches or L1 staff seminar members. Like all of them, were completely embedded in the CrossFit community to the highest order. And now we see a lot of people that are just showing up, exploit the competitive career, right? Like some of them don't even have their L1s.
Can you really blame them?
No, not at all.
It's just back in the day, and we talk about that a lot, like how much better certain things were back then. Do we know anything that's better present day than it was in 2013? Can you think of anything right now?
Oh, I don't want to be cynical and be like, no, but not offhand. I would have to put some thought in. I'm sure there is something that is out. I'm sure there is.
Maybe I'll cut that out.
We should leave it.
Just leave it in there.
But to your point, you were like, can we blame people? Yeah, we could definitely blame CrossFit, the company, because they are the holders of the fittest on earth.
What are we blaming them for?
For the fact that most of the competitors don't have some sort of
skin in the game.
Yeah, thank you. Skin in the game. That's a good way to put it. Right. And I don't know how you incentivize them with that. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking of.
What the
I was just like
correct thing is,
staring off into the palm trees and like, all right, how do we actually make them want to help CrossFit?
Well, you give them all free L1s.
Other than everything that I just said, which was, yeah, you give them free L1s.
Give them
that's
free
good, right?
L1s, and then really promote the ones that took the L1 when they're there through their platforms. And most of the competitive athletes, especially the up and coming ones, will go, oh shit, I want the exposure from CrossFit Games, from CrossFit. So if I go ahead and do this and learn it and then talk about it, I'll have a camera follow me, and this is going to be good for my personal brand as well as it feeds the loop back into CrossFit's brand. There's your fucking strategy, CrossFit HQ. That one's free, Don.
And then mine is, yeah, that one's free, Don. You have to pay for the other 50 that he's talking to me about this weekend.
Are you even going to use any of this?
Good.
This is romantic. I was just on the beach. So back to the weekend.
While we're talking about this weekend, I think we got off on a little bit of a tangent. There's a truck driving by on the beach. I always get like kind of weirded
Newport
by
Beach
that.
Fire.
Souza knows all about them firefighters. We're here with California Hormones, and Souza almost passed out today.
Oh, no.
You getting your blood work done?
I don't know. Look how sweaty.
It was sweatier in here. Oh my god.
Are you like really sweating?
He was drenched.
Yes.
Touch his arm.
Yeah, so if you're sweating, your blood pressure is going down, so you're definitely gonna pass. You want me to do it lying down? It's easier.
No. I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to pass out.
Only lasts for a good 2 seconds.
Oh.
That would be a funny video ever.
Why? Yeah, you don't like needles very much,
Insert
do
clip here. Yeah.
Insert clip of Souza almost passing out in the background. So I was getting my blood drawn because I'm doing my 6-week checkup. I've been on the testosterone replacement therapy now for 6 weeks, and I want to see how the 200 nanograms per deciliter is kind of doing. And I was hoping to get closer to 1100. It was like 733 when I first got everything done, and I went on 200 milligrams a week. We're hoping to get it up there. Doctor, the phlebotomist, was taking my blood, and Souza was taking the video on the camera. I'll plug it in, and I was like, here, this is what it looks like when I'm getting my blood pulled. And Souza, I just keep looking up at him, and I'm like, are you okay? And he's just like looking away. He's like trying to make sure the camera's still on me, but he can't look. And I was like, hey, you know you're getting yours done next. And he goes, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. He goes, I'm sweating. I'm over. And I look over at his forearm, and it's just glistening. And I wish I would have like been able to grab that right away, but I have a little clip of him. I'll throw that in too. And he's in the chair, and he's just like, I can't do it.
I just can't do it, Captain. I do it half the time.
I'm gonna pass out. And then the phlebotomist comes over and he goes, if you feel like you're gonna pass out, we can't do this with you because once you're passed out, I can't draw blood.
Yeah, and that was kind of, the reaction was kind of a surprise a little bit because like it wasn't necessarily the needles, it was kind of like seeing the blood like extract out of your arm into the little vial things, and like all of a sudden I got nauseous, and then I was trying to like just ignore it, and all of a sudden I started to break out into this sweat, and then when I lost the color,
sweat, his shirt changed colors. Everything was sweating. It was insane.
Yeah, that
and
was
I was
rough.
like, hey, I don't think Sousa's. I was trying to like get him to do it. I'm like, dude, you have to get this done. We're all the way out in Newport, and like I think you drove what 7-8 hours to get here.
Yeah,
and I
6
flew
hours.
from freaking Chicago to get here. Like, this is what we're here for. And then he goes, I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I'm like, you're gonna regret it. This stuff isn't cheap. Speaking of which, it's not cheap. And if you use code Hiller on CaliforniaHormones.com, you get free consultation and blood work done through your insurance. So do that stuff. But anyway, he's here to do that,
shit.
and he almost passed out. So what he did end up getting was an IV, which California Hormones also does. So
I felt like I had to
I
do
feel
that,
like I had
right?
60 different needles in my arm this weekend. So the one for the blood draw, and then the one for the IV, which he did do.
I did
He
do.
had never done one before.
I
But
did
actually,
do
we're
it.
shooting this, and I feel fucking great.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel
You
good
noticed
too.
that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so like we feel like really good, and that's just what happens when you get the IV bag done. I was looking at the back of it. It's basically every vitamin and mineral you'll want to feel great. A whole bag of saline, so you're super hydrated.
Yeah.
You sit in a chair for 30, 35 minutes.
And the thing that sucks is like I wish I could have gone through to get my blood work because I am curious to get those results and just to see everything, and I definitely couldn't go through that. But I did pee in a cup, so they'll give me back some stuff on my urine sample.
Possible like cancer metrics and stuff that they're going to see.
Yeah,
in
just
you
some
through the
things like
urine.
are off.
I should know
they'll-
more about exactly what happened there. The thing that Souza wasn't there for, which is good because I think he would have actually died. he almost died from the sight of blood, but my elbow, as a lot of you guys know, is kind of all fucked up, and I've talked quite a bit on end about the elbow. MDO fix is something that I had injected into my elbow, which is just basically, from what I spoke with the doctor about, he said it was something taken from the placenta, and it's supposed to help regenerate torn down tissues in wherever it's like a localized area. So like people get it done in ACL, MCL, people get it done in joints, tendons, ligaments, and it's supposed to help the healing process. And right now, there's an inflammation effect in it. So he said, yeah, 2, 3, 4 days, you're going to feel like quite a bit of buildup in there. And he's not lying, because he did 4 different stabs. He went in here, and then he was like twisting the needle up, down, and around. I'll plug in the video of that too. And then he went in down here, and he was just like, amniofix is what it's called, regenerative. And we're hoping that in the next 6 weeks, it's got this thing entirely good to go too. Also something that California Hormones does, but you need to be in the Newport area, I believe, to have all of this done, because they've got a couple of locations where they can get that done.
Yeah.
It would be cool to see if it works, because I'm waiting to get this thing back so I can snatch the 300 pounds by the end of October in 2 weeks.
Savage. It's also important to note that like less than 24 hours later, you were able to like work out on it. Like
Yeah.
you were saying, you had a
That's
little bit
where
like
we did all that
stiffness.
Caoch Fitness.
Yeah.
It was stiff, and dude, the freaking the needle in there, it would have put you under.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been good for anybody. Well, it might have made good content here, but it would have got a good laugh. Out of me,
All
like,
we want is
passing out.
the content of Souza passing out for whatever reason. But
Oh
other
my
than that, like,
gosh.
we were hanging out with the owner of California Hormones, and she's great.
Yeah, she's awesome. I'm excited to see where that goes in the future. There's some really cool stuff going on.
That's the other thing. We're just kind of planning out the future of what we're doing to work with her.
Yeah, just some.
The doctors are all great. Everyone here is great in relation to the company.
Yep.
And that's not something that I think I could say about a whole lot of other companies that have reached out to me to do things with them in the past. Like, number one, I started up this channel. I never wanted to be like working with or owned or what is the word, just bought by anybody. But this is something, as a lot of you guys know, just happened to like parallel really well with the things that I like to talk about, which is hormones. I talk about this person, natty or not, and blah, blah, blah. And it is something I've always been interested in. So I'm super grateful to be able to work with them, with the doctors. And
Wait, you're the first person in the CrossFit space that is like doing this and documenting it, right? Like,
Correct,
is there anybody? Yeah.
that's just it.
Which actually, you know, that could be a good like implication for especially some of the older population within it and stuff like that, just to kind of within the CrossFit space, just to kind of see like, hey, what is this process? I'm curious about it and everything else. And the cool part about it is you're completely transparent about everything. And what I mean by transparent is like you're just open, the good, the bad, the ugly. Everybody gets to know what's going on, how it's affecting you, the different results that you've seen. And so it's really nice to be able to have kind of like an honest like look into what's going on and how what it's doing for you and the results you're seeing.
What is it that I mentioned to you earlier today? Like the body hair.
Yeah,
I'm like
that's
growing
right.
hair on my chest for the first time really ever, and hair on my face.
It'll
So
put
like
some
you
hair
saw the
on your
mustache.
chest.
I had a mustache for like a week or two, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
this grew back. The freaking circle in my face
Yeah.
grew back immediately. And I had like all this cheek hair that I've never had. So that's kind of nuts. Everyone's curious about the sex life, and that's also nuts. It's like Alexis is in danger constantly, and she has her own opinions on that. She's trying to keep up. But that's
shit.
totally something that's happening as well. And then I'm also, as I've mentioned in relation to softball, just incredibly assertive in certain situations where I can't say that would have been as assertive in the past. I told Souza a couple stories about some Chipotle instances that I had. Should I tell that story? Is it even worth it? Like, I don't know. This video is getting kind of long.
Yeah, you might want to save that for another one.
Save that for another
But
one.
it's
It'll
pretty
be
funny.
good. Yeah,
definitely worth it.
Chipotle rage.
Yeah. See those people on the roof over there? I wonder what they're doing.
Is it a roof or is it a porch?
No, that's the roof.
Interesting.
Yeah, anyhow.
I think that's pretty good. We can wrap it there. I mean, I usually
All right,
try to
cool.
make these 10 to 15 minutes, but
Cool.
what did we touch upon? We touched upon why we got here.
Yep.
We worked out at Caoch. We
Yep.
did an entire thing in your past a little bit, along with
Yeah,
some
funny
interactions
stories
with
from that.
Fraser, and we branched into the CrossFit world a little bit, and then we came back to what we were doing here. So I think it's
Yeah.
good.
Cool. Wrap it. If you guys want to see that video of Fraser that I made, it's like not that far down on my Instagram because I hardly post anything ever, but it's still
Do you have
there.
a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel. Yeah.
And it's not the Real Sevan podcast. What is that one?
No, it's just my name.
Matt Souza.
Yeah.
And then that's where you can find a lot of your other stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there. And now that we're putting it publicly on your channel, I'm like afraid because people are gonna say,
So
change
before
all
I
that
get
shit
this
to
video
private.
edited up and posted to my channel, he's gonna go and delete every video ever.
No, like some of them are just like it was just funny content that we made like specifically for some of the members of the gym. So like some people will probably see it and be like, "Oh, this is fucking stupid," but whatever.
I got some of those where I used
Yeah.
to do like in-house interviews with some of my members, and those were
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's
I
cut
did
this
some
thing
of
off.
this too. All right,
Let's
cool.
cut it off.
Land the plane.
What's your thing? Do you have an outro?
No, but fuck, I wish you
Andrew Hiller out.
Andrew Hiller out.